And please let the record note that with the exception of Ms. Bentley, all council members are present this evening. We have minutes from the meeting of June 12th. Without objection, they'll be approved. Seeing none, we'll move on to our schedule of committee meetings. Ms. Rabine.
Okay, the Administration and Finance Committee will meet this coming Wednesday on the 21st from 8:50 in the morning to 9:10. Public Safety and Health meets from 9:15 to 10:30. Land Use and Planning meets from 10:35 to noon. Public Works Committee meets at 1 o'clock to 1:45. Committee of the Whole will meet from 1:50 to 2:50, and Budget Committee of the Whole will round out the day from 2:55 to 4:55. All those meetings are being held right here in the council chambers.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Any changes to the committee schedule? Seeing none, we'll move on to the public comment portion of our agenda. This is your opportunity to comment on items not elsewhere on the agenda this evening.
Candy Matthew Jenkins, 1211 Cooper Street. I'm still reading from the Soviet art of brainwashing, psychopolitics, the art of mental healing that was presented to the House Un-American Activities Committee between 1936 and 1939. Exercises in bringing about insanity seizures at will simply by demonstrating a signal to the two persons upon whom pain drug hypnosis has been used, and the exercises in making the seizures come about through talking to certain persons in certain places and times should also be used. Brain surgery, as developed in Russia, should also be practiced by the psychopolitical operative in training to give him full confidence in, 1, the crudeness with which it can be done, 2, the certainty of erasure of the stimulus response mechanism itself, the production of imbecility, idiocy, and discordant coordination on the part of the patient, and 4, comparative lack of comment or public indignation associated with the casualties in brain surgery. Exercises in sexual attack on patients should be practiced by the psychopolitical operative to demonstrate the inability of the patient under pain drug hypnosis to recall the attack that has indoctrinated him with a lust of further sexual activity. Sex in all animals is a powerful motivator and is no less so in animal man.
My name is Bob Moore. There was an article in the paper, tax increase of 3.87% expected in the first draft. Part of the writing, Chief Administrative Officer Dale Bickle said the consistent increases have happened every year since the 2009 recession. The city simply isn't growing quickly enough to collect enough taxes to cover its basic services. I think that puts us in a bad situation. The mayor has stated that we're going to have $500 million of investments here in downtown. But Dale says we don't have enough taxes to cover our basic services. I think it's your responsibility to make sure we do, and you're not doing it. In order to maintain the city's current level of service, what this budget does, Bickle said, the tax increase was necessary. We're hoping we're coming out of that post-recession hangover. We've had almost a decade now. The water utility takeover, Ward 4 Representative John DeBarry noted, does not contribute to the tax increase in any way. I will donate $1,000 to the city if somebody can explain to me how purchasing that mountain water does not increase the operating expenses of this city. Somebody tell me that. Maybe John will tell me that. How you going to borrow $93 million, $93 million, you're going to spend $100 million on bringing it up to standards. God only knows what the final legal fees will be, but it's got no impact on our budget. What kind of budget are we talking about? Is this a budget where we don't include things if we don't want to include things? In the early 70s, I taught a graduate course called Budgeting, Profit Planning, and Control at Catholic University in Washington, D.C. I actually learned a lot in there. I don't remember anything that you could do, $93 million, interest, legal fees, $100 million to get it up to standards, and it doesn't affect the budget. Are you joking? Are you joking? You expect the people to believe that? Another letter to the editors, city does not prioritize efficiency. The last comment of it. My last comment is, did you get, meaning the public, get a 3.87% increase in your wages or retirement? Can people on a fixed income sustain their increases and still retain their homes? Are you going to let the city keep wasting money and voting those increases, or are they finally going to wake up? Now, even with all these tax people having troubles, let's make sure we still give the well-to-do developers, lawyers, professionals, dentists, give them their welfare checks so they can put it in their pocket while they also make their facade a little bit prettier. Or tens of millions to the shopping center. Or $1.5 million to Stockman Bank that's got over $3 billion assets, got about $300 million. Uh-oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Any other general public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Items on that agenda were approved unanimously in council committees, and we save a little time on Monday evenings by considering these items all together. Ms. Rabine will read the consent agenda aloud so folks in the audience and those at home will know what we're considering, and we'll take comment on those items before we vote. Ms. Rabine.
Thanks. We have 11 items on tonight's consent agenda, and the first, as always, is to approve claims, which are the city's accounts payable in the amount of $2,477,071.43 for checks that are dated June 20th of 2017. Number 2 is to approve claims, which are also accounts payable, again, related to the water acquisition in the amount of $177,457.76 for checks that are dated June 20th of 2017. Number 3 is to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Heather McMillan and Jack Moffett to the Building Code Board of Appeals with terms to commence July 1st, 2017 and expire on June 30th of 2020. Number 4 is to award the purchase of one 2012 Caterpillar 262D skid steer loader with a post pounder and a Harley rake attachments to Western States Equipment of Missoula, Montana, in the amount of $79,211. Number 5 is to adopt a resolution of the Missoula City Council amending Resolution 7736 to raise the curb and sidewalk assessment funding assistance program stop loss amount threshold for the funding assistance program for curb and sidewalk assessments, $15,000 to $20,000 for projects that were ordered after January 1st of 2017. Number 6 is to adopt a resolution relating to the Margaret Phase 2 Strand to Kensington Curb and Sidewalk Improvement Project number 15-016 of the city's Sidewalk, Curb, Gutter, and Alley Approach Program, ordering in the sidewalk, curb, gutter, and alley approach improvements, and directing notice to be given to the affected property owners. Number 7 is to direct staff to conduct meetings of the Miller Creek Neighborhood Council regarding the striping on Linda Vista Boulevard, chip seal the street during the summer of 2017, and restripe the street after chip sealing, which typically takes place within 30 days of the chip seal project, with the neighborhood's preferred markings as determined during those neighborhood meetings. Number 8 is to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Andy Short to the city's Board of Adjustment with a term that begins July 1st of 2017, expiring on June 30th of 2020. 3 parts to this particular item is to confirm the mayor's appointment of Zachary Reimer as alternate 2 as a regular board member to the City Board of Adjustment for a term to begin July 1st, 2017 and expiring on June 30th, 2020. And the third part of that one is to confirm the mayor's appointment of Hans Hoffman as a regular board member to the City Board of Adjustment for a term that also begins July 1st, 2017 and expires on June 30th of 2020. Number 9 is to adopt a resolution of intention to annex and incorporate within the boundaries of the City of Missoula, Montana, a certain parcel of land described as Parcel A of Certificate of Survey number 6568. Accepting the portion of the parcel along the southern boundary of Parcel A, encompassing the public road right-of-way that was annexed as part of Resolution 6818, and to zone Parcel A of Certificate of Survey number 6568 to OP3 in the city. And all of that is located in Section 11, Township 12 North, Range 20 West, Principal Meridian, Montana, and set a public hearing on the whole matter for July 10th, 2017. The critical piece of information that was not in that motion was that this is the future site of the Cold Springs School. So I'll add that into the record. Number 10 is to set a public hearing on July 17th, 2017 on a resolution fixing the annual appropriations in the capital improvement program for the City of Missoula set forth in the fiscal year 2018 budget and capital improvement program, including the Tourism Business Improvement District Work Plan and Budget, the Business Improvement District Work Plan and Budget, and the Park and Road District's number 1 work plans and budgets. Number 11 is the first reading and preliminary adoption, setting a public hearing on June 26, 2017, preliminarily adopting an ordinance to rezone Lot 1A of Riverside Edition, Blocks 21 and 28 in Section 20, Township 13 North, Range 19 West, from RM 2.7 Residential Multi-Dwelling to RM 2 Residential Multi-Dwelling, based on findings of fact in the staff report, and refer the ordinance to the Land Use and Planning Committee. That property is located at 1801 Wyoming Street. I think that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Any questions or comments from council members? Mr. DeBari.
I wanted to get a little clarification on item number 7. I was supportive of the motion that moved this out of committee. This is the restriping of Linda Vista, but this motion is crafted a little bit differently and doesn't talk about I guess it says specifically that it'll be marked with the neighbor's preferred markings as determined during the meetings, but during the committee meeting, we also discussed that there would be city council review of that too, and I just wanted to make sure that there was the opportunity to have that review by staff and of city council related to this, and I'm wondering if Mr. Hess might be able to answer that.
Mr. Hess?
Bear with me for just a moment. My notes show that we would direct staff to move chip sealing to this summer, host July meetings within the neighborhood, and then implement a street alignment that is agreed upon by the neighborhood. But I do recall the discussion leading a lot toward, obviously there needs to be engineering standards and staff review and council review. So I think it's an important point that you raised, but I don't have that from my notes on the motion as made, I guess.
Without objection, that can be added to the motion.
That would be preferred.
Seeing none, anyone in the audience care to comment? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote on the consent agenda as amended.
On the consent agenda, Armstrong. Armstrong votes yes. Cares.
Point of order.
Cares votes yes. Dabari. I'm sorry.
Did someone want to comment?
On the agenda?
On the consent agenda, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Candy Matthew Jenkins. When I started coming to city council as a business owner in 1988, things were much different. We didn't have these speed programs of building, and that things were managed, I think, a little bit better back then, but there has always been problems in Missoula with either licensing businesses or whatever. But we didn't have budgets that were taxing people out of their homes. And except for the time I was lobbying in Helena, I have called over and over and over, and I know we have a accounting firm that does this locally, but I sincerely believe we need a comprehensive financial report from an out-of-state trusted firm, because I believe that the spending that goes on in Missoula, how can I say this?
Ms. Matthew Jenkins, did you
Is
have
not-
something regarding the consent agenda this evening?
Isn't that on the consent agenda?
To set a public hearing on the budget?
Yes,
Okay.
right.
If you'd like
And
to address that, you're welcome to.
that's what I'm talking about, budgets. And I think our city needs to be clarified on the actual finances of this city. So that's what I found.
Anyone else?
Bob Moore again. I'm opposed to paying any more claims. I don't know if this says approved claims and accounts payable. I'd like to know what a claim is. It's different, usually different for most people on accounts payable. Related to the water acquisition in the amount of $177,000 for checks dated June 20. I think we pay, I guess that's probably most of the lawyers. I think we pay the attorneys enough. And nothing else should be paid. On those budget things a while ago, I just mentioned, I forgot the point about next year's budget is supposed to be projected to be 13% increase, not 3%. So we keep spending $177,000, and the Lord only knows what next week's going to be. So I'm opposed to paying that.
Anyone else on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll now have a roll call vote. Again.
Okay, I'm going to start over. Armstrong. Armstrong votes yes. Cares. Cares votes yes. Dabari.
Yes.
Dabari votes yes. Heddle. Heddle votes yes. Hess. Hess votes yes. Jones. Jones votes yes. Marlar. Marlar votes yes. Sweeney. Sweeney votes yes. Von Lossberg. Von Lossberg votes yes. West. West votes yes. And Wilkins. Wilkins votes yes. Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 11 ayes and 1 absent.
And the consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to comments from city staff, agencies, boards, commissions, authorities, and the community forum. We do have a neighborhood council report from Two Rivers. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you for having me. As you said, I'm reporting on our general meeting that we held June 6th at the new Fort Missoula Regional Park. We're a new neighborhood council, so this was only the third we've had and only the second since Elliot Aresti and I joined the leadership team. During that meeting, we did adopt one additional member to our leadership team, Sami Talami. We also discussed general marketing ideas for the fort as it's been carried out and how it might be carried out. We went over, we had a Q&A with Councilmember Kares, which was much appreciated. Thank you for coming out. There were several concerns raised over changes on sections of Reserve Street from SD2 to B2 rezoning. A lot of those come from people who live in the county who are worried about potential development in the area. And that's something of an ongoing tension that comes up every now and then within our meetings between development and not, as I'm sure you're very aware. Also, I should mention that Jane Kelly from Office of Neighborhoods was in attendance from the city, as well as Michelle, as I mentioned, Councilmember Kares. And that's all I have. The next meeting will be in August. So, thank you.
Thank you, and that was Kirk Richardson for the record. We'll move on to special presentations. We have 3 this evening. First, whereas Ron McDonald served more than 20 years as a board member of the City of Missoula Redevelopment Agency and was both steadfast and energetic in his, in his advocacy and support for the development of riverfront parks and trails, and whereas Ron McDonald's vision for a riverfront trail system, which engages citizens with their natural environment and enhances the downtown area and economy, has clearly helped to make Missoula one of the most desirable places in the nation to live, work, and play. And whereas the City of Missoula declared that Ron's River Trail shall be the trail which parallels the Clark Fork River on the north side of that river, starting in Karas Park and extending east and west to the incorporated Missoula city limits, and whereas Ron's River Trail will be officially rededicated to the citizens of Missoula on Wednesday, June 21st at Out to Lunch in Karas Park, now therefore I, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula and the State of Montana, do hereby recognize the 21st day of June as Ron's River Trail Day. And Ron McDonald, for those of you who knew him, was a force with which to be reckoned. Next, ladies and gentlemen, whereas since 2000, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees has recognized June 20th as World Refugee Day to honor the sacrifices, courage, strength, determination, and contribution of refugees throughout the world who are forced to flee their homelands, and whereas World Refugee Day 2017 is dedicated to building empathy for refugees as well as protecting them and providing opportunities to assist them in rebuilding their lives in safety and dignity. And whereas since 1980, the U.S. Refugee Act has represented the United States government's commitment to protecting refugees through resettlement and asylum programs, and whereas Missoula has a strong history of resettling refugees, including Hmong, Belarusian, and Ukrainian people who have now become part of the beautiful fabric of Missoula, and whereas in response to the growing epidemic of displaced people, a group of concerned Missoulians, Soft Landing Missoula, came together to responsibly consider welcoming refugees in Missoula, Montana, and whereas the Missoula community has stepped up to welcome more than 30 refugee families in the last year through the International Rescue Committee, making Missoula a welcoming place that refugees can call home, now therefore I, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula in the State of Montana, hereby recognize the 20th of June 2017 as World Refugee Day. And there was a fantastic soccer tournament at Fort Missoula Regional Park on Saturday, well attended, and lots of soccer was played in honor of World Refugee Day. And finally, In a slightly different form this evening, the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration still in present use, and was initially created by George Washington in 1782. As the badge of military merit, it became the first American Service Award or decoration made available to the common soldier. It was revived in 1932 by General Douglas MacArthur to mark the bicentennial of Washington's birth, and today it is specifically awarded to any member of the United States Armed Services who has been wounded or has made the ultimate sacrifice in combat with a declared enemy of the United States of America. The mission of the Military Order of the Purple Heart, chartered by an act of Congress, is to foster an environment of goodwill among combat wounded veteran members and their families, to promote patriotism, to support our communities, and most important, to make sure we never forget the sacrifices made by those who have put themselves in harm's way. Throughout our history in Missoula, there have been those who joined military service and gave their lives in the cause of freedom. Today, honorable combat wounded veterans live and work in Missoula, and the city of Missoula falls within the purview of the Department of Military Order of the Purple Heart. We wish to express and pledge our steadfast support for this honorable organization and for those who have put their lives at risk in combat to protect their country and fellow citizens. For the above reason, I, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula, do hereby proclaim the City of Missoula, Montana, as a Purple Heart City, the first in the state of Montana, and I encourage residents of Missoula to show their appreciation and support for the sacrifices Purple Heart recipients have made defending our freedoms, and to acknowledge their courage and continuous willingness to serve our community. I spent some time with members of that organization on Saturday as well, and that was a privilege. They do lots of pretty amazing volunteer work in our community, and we're happy to have them join that group of selfless folks who give their time and energy to make Missoula a better place. We have no additional special presentations this evening. I will pass on comments from the mayor, and we'll begin comments from council members with Ms. Swaney this evening.
I wanted to address an issue that occurred last week. A young member of our community, an 8-year-old girl, was harassed based on her race, and her family did file a police report, and I did communicate with our attorney, and I just wanted to share there is a Montana State Criminal Law, Section 455221 MCA, entitled Malicious Intimidation or Harassment Relating to Civil or Human Rights Penalty. This state law creates a criminal offense of malicious intimidation or harassment when, because of another person's race, creed, religion, color, national origin, or involvement in a civil human rights activity, the person purposely or knowingly, with intent to terrify, intimidate, threaten, harass, annoy, or offend, causes 1, bodily injury to another, 2, causes reasonable apprehension of bodily harm in another, or 3, damages, destroys, or defaces property of another or public property. As a mother and as a member of Missoula, my heart goes out to this young girl and her family, and so I just wanted to bring that forward and further into public record. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Ms. West, Ms. Jones, Mr. Hess, Ms. Cares.
Just wanted to say congratulations to Caitlin and Jeff Koppel-Massengill on their wedding this past weekend. A couple council members were able to attend, and it was a really wonderful affair. So congrats to them.
Mr. Wilkins, Ms. Armstrong, Ms. Marler.
Thank you for all the special presentations on the trail dedication and Refugee Day, and I especially wanted to thank you for the putting Missoula in the network of Purple Heart cities of Montana. My dad has a Purple Heart from his service in Vietnam, and he doesn't live here, but next time he comes to visit, which is hopefully this summer, I'll be very proud to tell him that we've joined that. So thanks.
Mr. DeBari. Ms. Hedall didn't even let me say her name, Mr. von Lossberg. All right, we have no committee reports this evening, nor do we have new business. Are there any additional items to be referred? Seeing none, any miscellaneous communications, petitions, reports, or announcements? With that, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I thank you for your service. We will be adjourned.